Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's Wednesday Wisdom guest. But first, we want to give our sponsors a shout out. Now, don't hit that fast forward button yet. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. You should be using them too. So take the next 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, and then listen to our interview. Then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. And we want to kick things off with K-12 Sports Tech, who is the name sponsor for all of our Wednesday Wisdom segments. Here we go. We want to thank K-12 Sports Tech for sponsoring Wednesday Wisdom. K-12 Sports Tech helps athletic directors and sport vendors connect through education and hands-on consulting services. Athletic directors are also encouraged to join the K-12 Sports Tech AD think tank and help influence how companies shape their tech to better serve schools. To find out more, all you have to do is go to k12sportstech.com/join. K12 Sports Tech. You're going to be glad you checked them out. We also want to thank Hometown Ticketing, the leading digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. We also want to thank Gipper. Go to gipper.com and you can start creating world-class content to celebrate your athletes and promote your teams. Your kids are on social media, and if you're not, you're really missing out. Go to gipper.com, mention the podcast, you'll get a nice discount. Gipper.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see their score tables and their score boards in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made. That's sidelineinteractive.com. We want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but as an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And all of our coaches and our kids just loved the tools that Huddle provided. Go to huddle.com to get started. We want to thank Snap Raise. If you're looking for a fundraising platform, you found it. Go to snapraise.com. Hands down, the best one out there. We used it at our school because it works. Go to snapraise.com. You can check out their other great platforms, but if you're looking for a fundraiser, this is it. Snapraise.com. We also want to say thanks to Home Campus. There's a lot of management platforms out there, but Home Campus is going to do everything the others do and more, and it's going to do it better and faster. It's going to be a platform you use every day. Go to homecampus.com for more information. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame for their support. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, or simply share your school's unique story, go to vitalsignswalloffame.com and take a look at their interactive touch screen video consoles. Vitalsignswalloffame.com. You're going to be glad you checked them out. We also want to say thanks to the Ohio University Online Master's Program. This affordable 20-month, totally online program focuses exclusively on athletic administration at the high school level. You're not only going to earn your master's degree, you're also going to complete 11 NIAAA leadership training courses to go towards your CAA. To get started, all you have to do is go to ohio.edu/info/MAA, the Ohio University Online Masters. And finally, we want to say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you've never used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, or your parents, you're really missing out. Athletic directors already hear back from the complainers, but Athletic Surveys is going to connect you to that group, but also going to connect you to the 98% that supports your program. And the information you get from them is tremendously valuable, especially when you're meeting with a frustrated parent or maybe your principal or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com to get started. That's athleticsurveys.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Wednesday Wisdom on the Educational AD Podcast. We're welcoming a new member to our Wednesday Wisdom team. Regular listeners will recognize the name Megan Henry. She was on the podcast a while back, has an incredible athletic background as a college athlete, as a world champion, world record holder in the sport of skeleton. And now she is putting her talents to use at a company called POIZ. She'll talk a little bit about that, I'm sure. She is the director of mental strength for POIZ. But Megan Henry, welcome to Wednesday Wisdom.
Thanks so much for having me back. I feel stoked to be here. And I'm just going to get right into it if you're okay with that.
Let's do it.
All right. So just to preface this, so I'm the director of mental strength at POIZ. I'm a transformational mindset coach. And for the listeners, I had a really awesome athletic career that I'm super proud of. And that provoked me to get into the mindset space because at some point in my career, I wanted to accomplish things, but what I was actually accomplishing, they weren't in alignment. They weren't matching up. So sent me on this journey of exploring the power of our mind, our subconscious mind, and the words we use, and all kinds of magical stuff that we'll get into today. So what I want to start off with is just defining very simply what mindset is. And mindset is the story you tell yourself about yourself. And all I'm sharing today, it sounds super simple, is the power of our words. And as athletic directors, professionals in the education space or in any space, communication is the most important skill that a leader can possess. And in life, right? Communication is so important. It influences what we experience and what we're able to accomplish. So to put this into perspective, 72% of divorce is caused by communication issues. And so it's clear that using the right words and eliminating the quote unquote wrong words, which we'll get into, plays an enormous role in your happiness, your health, your overall well-being in your whole lifetime. So that's what we're getting into today in Wednesday Wisdom. It sounds simple, but sometimes simple isn't always implemented. So, and the words that you're using, it directs your attention and your energy into that story that you're telling. So harnessing the power of the words also results in how you're perceived by other people. Are you being perceived as a leader? Are you being perceived as confident? So Jake, if I were to say, I think that maybe we should possibly get coffee tomorrow sometime or something. How does that sound versus, hey, Jake, let's get coffee tomorrow at 3 p.m. tomorrow? Can you imagine someone asking you on a date, like the first version of that? You'd think the person was a wet noodle, right? And the point of all of that is that when you master your words, it totally changes your life. So the hardest part of changing your words is becoming aware of the words that you're using right now. So we're going to play a couple of language games. So for the listeners, if you're safely somewhere and not driving your car, I'm going to ask you to grab a piece of paper and a pen, AKA your magic wand. So if you're listening right now and you're able to go grab it before we get into our language games, awesome. If you're driving, you can just listen and play along anyway. And so we're going to play a little game. And I want you to take a second. So Jake, you can write down the beginning of this sentence, I should, and you can fill in the blank with anything. So that could be, I should do the laundry. I should do the dishes. I should go to bed earlier. I should have that talk with that parent. Whatever it is that come to mind, I want you to write that down. So Jake, whenever you're ready, I'm going to have you read your sentence out loud for the listeners.
All right. I'm not going to explain it. I'm just going to go for it. Okay.
Good.
I should eat more vegetables.
Okay. I should eat more vegetables. And how does it feel when you say that sentence out loud?
Well, I guess at one end of the spectrum, I know it's healthy for me. I should put the good fuel into my machine. At the same time, I'm not a vegetable fan and would much rather, have something that's, in my opinion, more tasty and, less nutritious.
All right. So now you and the listeners, I want you to cross out the word should, and I want you to put the word could. And I want you to read that out loud for me and tell me how that feels.
You want me to read it out loud right now? Okay.
Yep.
I could eat more vegetables.
Okay. What's the difference?
Well, I guess for me, I'm hearing that voice in my head, and maybe it's my mom or maybe it's my wife. Uh, but when I say I could, there's possibilities.
Oh,
There's a challenge. There's hope that it might actually happen.
amazing. Okay. So it went from like that guilt trip, mom's telling me to do this, to possibility and hope. Okay. So see the magic starting here. That's why call the pen a magic wand. Okay. So now you're going to cross out could. Again, you're going to cross that out and you're going to put can. And I'm going to ask you to read that out loud for me.
I can eat more vegetables.
And how does that feel?
Uh, again, I guess it's moving away from, the possibility to maybe, I'm saying maybe, an action plan, an action step, that this, is gonna happen.
Amazing. Okay, so we changed one word so far. We've only changed one word in the sentence, and the picture has totally changed. So I could extend this out further, and I could have you be like, okay, now put because and fill in the blank. And then I could go, if you were a client of mine, I would have you put, I can eat more vegetables. I would define, what does more mean? What does that mean? I could eat one serving of vegetables because I want to be healthier. I could also have you commit to it. I can eat more vegetables 3 times a week. I could make it very specific. So it then, like you said, becomes this action plan. It's more likely to be something that you're going to do. Whenever you hear somebody say the word should, it's very likely they are not going to do that thing. So that's our first little language game for today. I wanted to know, what do you think of when you hear the word abracadabra?
Well, as a very small time, part-time magician myself,
Oh,
obviously, that's some cheesy magic there, but it's something we all use.
definitely. So the actual translation of abracadabra, so it's Aramaic, and it literally translates to, with my words I create. So that's food for thought there. And the definition of a spell is a word or combination of words of great influence. So when you hear people saying things like, oh, well, I can't make the varsity team, they're essentially, they're speaking an incantation, they're saying a spell. It's something that they're most likely bringing to fruition. So the words that we choose are very, very important because they are, in fact, spells. And these thoughts, these words, the beliefs that we have for years or decades, and those thoughts and the words that we use become really unconscious. So the words that I used in that example about us grab coffee sometime this week, right? It was very ambiguous. Those types of words are called soft talk words. And so the words that we use, again, reiterating these concepts over and over again, the words have power, they have energy, and they really are. Words are so, so powerful. So I'll give another example using those soft talk words. So if let's say someone was going to try to sell you something, what's something that you really like? Do you like shoes? Do you like watches? What do you like, Jake?
Oh, we can go with shoes, I guess. Okay.
Okay, we'll go with shoes. All right. Hey, do you maybe want to try these shoes? They're probably really comfortable and kind of luxurious. Versus, hey, you want to try these shoes? They are the most luxurious and most comfortable shoes you're ever going to wear. right? The energy is very, very different, and my delivery is different. And when you start hearing people, like listening to people talk, you will notice that the energy that they're using when they use soft talk words, which I'll explain more of what that is in a moment, how they deliver it is very, very different. And that impacts whether you perceive someone as confident or not confident. So these soft talk keywords is soft talk words are like excessively using those softening words, right? It creates that ambiguity, that uncertainty. It's likely avoidance. So you're giving yourself an out, like, oh, I should maybe eat more vegetables, right? You're giving yourself an out, like, oh, I don't really want to commit to that. So these words, and I'll give you a thing you can put in the show notes for this, but I'll just say a couple off the top of my head. So it's likes, maybes, I guesses, I think, probably, could, might, perhaps, possibly, someday, hope. All of these words, they are soft talk words. And there's a time and a place for those words. Learning when to use them and when to avoid it is very key. So again, I'll give you a worksheet. So ideally, if you look in the show notes for this worksheet, you can print them out and put them on your desk. So you increase that awareness for yourself that I guarantee you, once we've talked about it and you've listened to this episode, you'll start to notice it in your own language and most likely other people's, or you'll see it in text messages, right? Or your emails where people are using all of these words and they're being super ambiguous. So went over what soft talk is. The opposite of soft talk is solid talk, which is the use of clear, direct, powerful language. You effectively communicate your thoughts about a particular concept or a choice. So that solid talk makes things easier. It makes things much easier to decide. It's clear, it's concise, it's straightforward, very easy to understand. So we could give the example of, I think it might be time to start eating more vegetables. I'm going to pick on you and use your example. I think it might be time to start eating more vegetables, or I can start eating more vegetables. They're very, very different. The energy is very different. So it's also important for me to stress that when you are using those soft talk keywords, when you talk, you signal to your subconscious mind that I don't know what I'm talking about, or I really don't believe in myself. I am unsure of myself. And so that feeling perpetuates, it cascades into other things. And so whether you're an athletic director, you're an athlete, again, in any space, that's so important because it affects how you show up in a conversation,
Right.
and the energy that you carry. So there's so many studies on the words that we use and how that impacts, your thoughts, your emotions, your behavior. And as a mindset coach, I see time and time again how the words we use have such a profound impact on our ability to persist, to be resilient in the face of challenges. And as athletic directors or coaches, the language that you use when you communicate with your team has such an impact on motivation, performance. And as we saw in that's called the should detox, that language game, the single word change, a word, it's the smallest unit of the human language, right? Changing that one word can totally change the mental picture that it creates. And so I encourage you, we can go into some more language games if we have time. I've got a ton, so we can go into them. But I encourage listeners that you go and you play this language game with someone else. You teach it either to your athletes, to your staff, to your spouse, whomever, because we retain 30% of what we hear, 50% of what we write down, and 80% of what we teach. So everyone in the education space already knows this. So I'm encouraging you to definitely play this game with someone else. Jake, I'll let you interject and ask any questions, and we can definitely play another game if you're open to it.
Well, I'm definitely open to it, but I want you to save some of this great stuff for your next Wednesday Wisdom. We don't want to give our listeners everything all at once. I love it. You used the example of a salesperson, and that's what, coaches are trying to do, should be doing, with their athletes, and what ADs are doing with the coaches is they're selling them on a vision,
Mhm.
selling them on a pathway to action. It's great that we have this mission statement, but how do we put it into, actual play? And talking about the individual, we should, let's say as athletes, sell ourselves on those
Mhm.
possibilities of success, better performance, better time, whatever. And I know in your arena, uh, the opposite of that, of selling yourself and building yourself up, is that negative self-talk. So,
Mhm.
selling is it's what we do as leaders. And for our listeners, if you haven't had a chance to listen to Megan's interview or hear about her journey, she was an elite athlete, a national caliber athlete, but she, in her own words, made the jump from elite to world class, world champion when she started utilizing some of the things that she just shared with you, this self talk, if you will. I'm oversimplifying, but hopefully that was a good summary. And I
Definitely.
encourage you to go back and listen to our interview and check out, Megan Henry and Poise. Let's go and do that right now. If one of our listeners, and listeners, I'm telling you, you need to do this, wanted to find out more about Poise, find out more about all the things that you just shared, or just add you to their network, what's the best way that they can do that?
Awesome. So you can go to Get Poise. It's spelled POIZ.com. You can email me, megan.henry@getpoise.com. And then I'm also on LinkedIn as Megan Henry. And my Instagram is at the Savage Meglet. So I'm sure we'll link that spelling in the show notes. But I am super active online. So no matter where you contact me, I will respond. I love hearing from anybody in the athletic space because that's where I'm super, super passionate. And I love to talk about all of these things. So if you have questions for me, please reach out and ask me.
And that Instagram bears repeating one more time. She posts some really great stuff. The Savage Meglet, great stuff. Megan, thanks again for joining our Wednesday Wisdom team. We are definitely going to bring you back for some more stuff, and all the best with the coming summer months.
Thank you.
Okay. For listeners, we want to say thanks to you also and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this every week with Wednesday Wisdom and just about every day sharing stories and best practices on the Educational AD Podcast. We hope you come back next time. I'm trying to pause it. Real quick before we go, we want to thank all of our sponsors, especially K-12 Sports Tech, for sponsoring our Wednesday Wisdom segments. Thanks to Gipper, thanks to Huddle, thanks to Hometown Ticketing, thanks to Snap Raise. Want to thank Home Campus, Sideline Interactive, Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack, Ohio University's Master's Program, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Every single one of these companies will help you do your job better. So thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on Wednesday Wisdom.